left side over here, we have our air filter, and then we have our ATF fill, your dipstick, and your engine oil fill, and your engine dipstick. Right here's your generator. To access your generator, you pull up on these halves, lift this up, and then you're pull that off the rear, and then this pivots all the way down. Take this off to the side. You're gonna take this, you notice how this folds in, has to be folded in for storage. We pull this out, disconnect it here, hit these levers, careful you don't pinch your fingers, pull those up, and then it slides out. That way we can access our oil fill, we can check our oil. On here, I put the on-off switch so you can remote start. This is your recoil. This is where you stick your fuel. We also have our propane back there. You can hook up here for the dual fuel. Put this away. You slide this in. Make sure that's secure. Bring our hose down here. Tuck this into here. Plug it in. Fold this out of the way. Make sure our lines are all good to go. This comes up. Now you notice this bar back here? This bar hooks onto this. So you take this, put this in here, and we make sure that that's hooked on there. Then we give it a little pull, make sure it's all good to go. Right here is our starter batteries. We have 4 batteries underneath here. This is your air system. That's your air dryer. Coming back over here, this is the washing machine. Inside here, there's a plug-in for your washing machine. This valve right here, when I do this, that does an electrically operated ball valve, which is underneath the seat in the dinette. And what that does is allows water to come out of this. You can see that water's a little bit dripping, but I turned it off and we're not pressurized. So you run a hose from here down to your washing machine, plug your washing machine into here, and then you hit this ball valve. That ball valve will have water come down, and then it will go to your washing machine. Come back here. This is where you fill up the fresh water. So you hook a hose up here, and then you fill up the fresh water, and then you wait until it's about pretty much full. Then you just shut the water off. That goes straight into the tank. At the end of it, make sure you don't just pressurize it and leave it going, because I don't want to pressurize the whole water tank. There's no need to do it. And so this is your vent line, and the vent line goes from the tank, it goes up into the cabinet, kind of around, so that when the vehicle's on the left or right side hill, you're not going to have a leak coming out. But water comes in, water comes out, and then that's how you fill it fresh. Over here, this is your propane tank. Your propane tank can be used for your generator, or you can use it for the grill on the other side. Here's your dromedary box. Basically whatever you need in there. Coming back here, this is the exhaust for your diesel heater, and it's also for your hot water heater. Rear view lights. This obviously is not for towing, but it's for putting accessories like bicycles on. Right here is your shore power, and so you can plug anytime into here. The Victron unit is going to automatically transfer from shore power to solar, or if you turn the generator on, it doesn't really matter. You can actually have all of them plugged in, and you're not going to run into a problem with interference or mixing your voltages. So feel free just to come in here and plug this in. Now it's important to note, if it's inside and it's not exposed to the sun, plug it in. If you want to, you can actually take the vehicle, and this is the on-off switch, and this kills all the power going to these batteries up here. That's your starter battery. So you know that if you get to a campsite and you want to make sure that you don't have a door open or something, you can just turn this off and you'll know you'll be able to start the vehicle. So I leave that on for now. That's your plug. Now there's kind of a unique thing that you can do on this, and it's on the Victron application, the Victron app on your phone. Is, let's say for instance you're wanting to plug in to just a house outlet just to kind of keep the lights on and maybe charge the batteries a little bit, but these lithium batteries will want to really suck all the juice down that you possibly can. So what you can do is, if you look into the Victron app, you can actually limit the input amps going to the unit. So you can set it at 15 or 30, whatever you want in between there. It just depends on whatever current that you're putting in there. Now, if you are using something, and let's say for instance you have 15 amps, but you do have full batteries and you want to like run the air conditioner or something, it'll be no problem, because what this truck will do is it will actually match the AC sine wave coming in to what it's generating on the with the multiplus, and it will add from the batteries any excess that it needs. And then once you terminate that, you'll be able to just go back to just having 15 amps. This is your Cuisinart. Hit these levers, come down here, and then underneath here is your gas line. Just take your propane tank, stick it up here, tighten that onto there, and you're good to go. This is how you get into the motorhome. So you can see that the ladder is stowed underneath here. If you come over here and look at this, this is the top of the ladder. You notice that it goes around this pipe, and it fits in there nicely, and that your hinge is down. So the hinge part is down. This is just like this. And to do this, what you do is you can lift this up. This comes down like this. And then you just reach in, unhook the back, and I lean this next to the tire. Once I come over here, I hit the button. The linear actuator pushes the whole step out on slides. And then this simply hooks onto there like that. And then you can get up and down into the motorhome. Another thing to point out is, once you have this out, you'll want to go up into the cab, and there's a switch down there right in the by the driver's seat, and it says step platform. And what that does is it kills power to this. That way, in case this fob is accidentally in your pocket, you can't push it and then this goes in or comes out. So make sure that before you drive off that you have the step platform off, so that you can't accidentally push this and this comes out while you're driving. And also make sure that you have that thing turned off when you're at your campsite or something, so that someone doesn't come out and think that there's a step out here. Moving on over here, this is where you stick fuel into it. Pretty self-explanatory. And then this is your primer bulb. You shouldn't have to use it, but I'm just going to note it. This goes up to a fuel filter, and then that goes down underneath the motorhome all the way in the back underneath the bed, and that services your aqua hot. You also have your fuel filter return line, which comes down, it goes back into the tank. Over here, this is where we have the tire, as explained in the other videos of how to change a tire and how to get this in and out. So we have two buttons here. One of them is to make the cab go down. One of them is to make the cab go down and cab go up. This one takes the tire down and tire up. Make sure you release this. This is your cassette toilet. And what happens with this, you'll see in the, I'm sure you're going to read the owner's manual on this one, but you can take this cassette toilet in and out just by lifting this little lever up right here. This unhooks, and then this comes out. You take this, dump it, push this back in. That locks into place. This is how you fill it. And this is your little spigot. You can get up there, and you can put water in there, and that fills up your cassette toilet. And then right here is a sight glass that you can tell as you fill it up. You can tell how full your cassette toilet water is. And if you want to empty your cassette toilet, you can bring this out and you can drain this down. And then that's the lowest part of the tank, and it will just filter out onto the ground. Up here we have a switch, which is underneath here. And what this switch does is this switch will turn on and off your gray water heating elements, which are underneath the tank. So when you turn this on, it doesn't necessarily mean it's heating. What it means is there's electricity going to it, going to the thermostat. The thermostat will kick on, I think it's like 45 degrees, and then those heat up, and then it will shut back off once the temperature rises. So it'll heat up and then come down. So you can almost leave it on all the time, but I wanted to put something in there so you can turn it on and turn it off. What else do we have? This is back here. The secret dump is down here, and it's a valve which is right here, and that comes right out of the tank. And what happens is you can push a button. It's called secret dump on the dash, and that ball valve will open up, and then you'll have water that will just come down, and you can just basically dump that out there. It's just shower water and sink water, so you could dump it on BLM land or whatever. Now, if you're in your campsite, you can take a hose and you can just put that up and just send it out, and you can water a tree or something with your just regular sink water. It's nothing bad in there. And that's going to be your secret dump. Secret dump is up on the dash, just like I said, and it's right next to the step. All right, I'm just going to sit here and explain to you your Victron setup. So underneath this, you take this pad off, and then you open this up, and you're going to see quite an array down here. And so you have 3 solar panels up top, and that's going to be putting out 1,020 watts. And that wattage comes down and it goes through this. So you can tell our solar input and our solar output. So what happens is the solar comes down, goes through our breaker, and then it comes over to our MPPT charge controller. Now this charge controller is run off a Bluetooth app. And so what we can do is we can come down here on here and we can look up. And now I have a whole bunch. You're not going to have all these. These are just different things in the shop. But we can see that we have a Smart Solar 150. And so I can click on that, and I can tell right now that my input voltage is 32.8. I have current going down to 12.7 amps. And then what's going to happen, it's going to convert that voltage to a usable voltage of 26.5, and then it's going to obviously up your amps because it's inversely proportional, and you can have a 15.4 amps going to your lithium battery bank. Now, this may sound kind of complicated, but it's really not. We have 600 amp hours of lithiums right here, and those things have onboard maintenance, so you really shouldn't have to mess with it. Just show it the sun and it'll know what to do. So the electricity comes down, comes to our charge controller. From our charge controller, that comes over, and then that will charge your batteries. Now on the outside of this, you can see that the batteries, it will take the juice and will go over to your Quattro, and then the Quattro will either do one of a multitude of things, but the big thing is it takes DC energy from your batteries and then we'll convert it to AC. So now our microwave or our plugs or anything that we want to use is going to work off that. Now let's talk about the Quattro. The Quattro it's called just a V-Bus Smart Dongle, and what that does, we put that on there to allow Bluetooth operation going there. So that's the Smart Dongle, and that makes this Bluetooth. So let's look at this real quick. So I'm going to open up my app, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to look for the VE bus. Now you can see that there's a picture actually of the Quattro. So you come down here, you can click on it, and the big thing is it'll tell you that you're inverting, it'll tell you where your power is coming from or where your power is going to, but the biggie is what you can do is you can I'm going to do that again. You can click this little gear up here, and then the gear, you can see that that's where you're going to set your current. So we can go higher or we can go lower. Now if we're going to plug it into a house, we can just go 15 amp and it's okay. And then what we're going to do is another one is we can go charger only. So if I'm going to put this vehicle outside and I don't really need it, you know, I can hit charger only. You can hear that the Quattro turned off, and now it's just allowing the MPPT charge controller to charge the batteries. If we can come over here to inverter only, meaning that we don't want to harvest solar, but we do want to use some kind of AC, or we can just go on and then everything's going to work. So a nice thing about this is you can do it from outside. So if you're wanting to, let's say you're wanting to pull up and you're wanting to go into town, you want to make sure everything's turned off, just go ahead and turn that to the off position, and then your inverter's not working. Now, do you mind, you know, you'll see that your lights will still work in here. So anything that works straight off battery power, that's going to work. So it's only stuff that's going to be running off AC. So down here, if you have anything, you can take this cover off, push that button, and we can see that we have the Aqua Hot, we have the KIB monitor and the pump, you have the secret dump, you have a toilet, overhead lights, security camera, electric cool, and then we have a ball valve. That's for your washing machine. You have an external cameras, and then the Wii Boost. So you've got quite a lot of bells and whistles on this thing. So now if we wanted to kill all the DC going to it, we can hit this button and that turns all of the DC off. Everything that runs off that doesn't turn on. Now that'll be on. Over here we have the fan. It runs in degrees Celsius, but that's these fans. So just in case things down here get warm or hot, we have one fan going out, one fan going in, and it just cools this place off. If you look over here, you can see underneath here, this is an on-off. So this kills the batteries. So that's the whole DC thing. Over there is your Stirling. Your Stirling is your DC to DC charge controller. That's how it powers off the engine. So if you're going to be taking a long drive, take these two breakers, make sure they're flipped up, and then make sure your settings are good, and then you can be charging along the way. I leave these off just for now, just because we have just so much charging that it doesn't necessarily need to be on. Right over here, this is where we're going to have our DC to DC. So this is a 24 volt to 12 volt power supply. So anything like your lights and stuff like that, because we do have a 24 volt system, that's just going to kick it down so we can operate on those things. After we go through and the Quattro makes your AC out of your battery, lithium battery bank, what's going to happen is that's going to come over here to that gray box. Now this gray box, we can see that we can open this thing up, and this is just going to be your AC breakers. And so we have everything's on here. We have bathroom GFCI, we have the table plug, we have the induction cooktop, we have the fridge freezer, we have the Aqua Hot, we have the vanity in the bathroom. The outside washer plug is on number 7, the microwave's on 8, the tank heaters are on 9, and then you have the TV VCR, and then finally the air conditioning unit. So everything's pretty much used on this thing. So tank heaters I have off right now just because we just don't need them. You know, you can also flip this switch and then flip the switch on outside, it's fine. The induction cooktop we can put on, and then we have the fridge freezers, and the Aqua Hot, and then the vanity. So we'll have everything on. Right over there, that's your Wii Boost. So that's going to be from your antenna up on top in the very far left corner of the vehicle. That antenna goes down, the coaxial cable shoots all the way across, goes down the front of the motorhome, and then that goes into here. That transmits, that sends it on this signal. This wire comes through here, up here, and you can tell that this is your Wii Boost antenna. So you'll want to have your cell phone kind of near that when you're really out there trying to utilize it. Another thing is we have our security out here, so we can see. You just push the, I can turn it here, I'll go from the off. So it's off. If you want to turn it on, just push the button, it'll come on. You have 3 cameras. That's your rear view camera. We can go left side, and then we can go to the right side. And there's nothing for the door. You could add another camera later on if you like, but we only got those 3. So left side, right side, rear, and that's it. So I'm gonna go to the right side so I can just go up there and look at the mountains. Let's look at the tunnel real quick here. So this little latch here too, I guess the TV, we could look at the TV. TV will come out and we can manipulate it on this and you can watch TV, but then when you want to, you're going to just put it back in, make sure your Wii Boost is good, and then pull your little cord out here so you can secure it for transit. Up here we got a Bluetooth. You could plug it in. We also have the wire going up through the top into there. Here's your AC. You turn your AC on just by using the remote control. Remote control, we kept them there. Basically just turn it on and you're good to go. It will turn on and then it'll cycle through. Make sure you have the little snowflake on there. That'll give you AC. For AC, if you are going to be utilizing your AC, it's one of these things where if sun is hitting this thing, you can run all day long and your batteries will stay ahead of it. Like it won't even drain. You can just go right from solar, it'll do the conversion, and your AC will run no problem. Now, if you're going to go on, it's at nighttime and it's really hot, you can run it only so long. It just depends on where you're at, the temperature, how much this thing has to cycle on and off. So there's going to be some experimenting. If you really want to be safe, you could plug it in, but if you're really out there, doing the whole overland thing, just know in the evening time, you're going to have to keep an eye on it. And that's it. Tunnel. There's your tunnel right now. We have the cab up. We're just doing like oil checks before it takes off. But this is how you open it. And then we'll look at the tunnel on the opposite side and we'll talk about detaching the tunnel so that you can lift and lower the cab. You can see to turn this on, just flip that switch and you can have a nice little light in here. Flip this off. Your sink. If you want to have water, you basically just fill your water tank up as we talked about before, put that hose on there, and then you come over here and hit your pump. Then this will be your fresh. There is no black, and then the gray water is going to be there also. This is how you turn on this is the thermostat, basically just a regular thermostat. You can turn that on. So you want to turn your Aqua Hot on, hit your burner, and what that does, you'll hear that spool up, and that'll be taking diesel fuel from your tank, going to be going back there underneath, and that's going to heat up. You can hear it powering up. And what that's going to do is that's going to heat up the cell, and then it's going to have Boilermaker solution that goes through it, heats that Boilermaker solution up, and that comes over here to this. It comes down underneath here, and it comes out right down here. Now, there's the burner, and then there's the electric. Now, I'll kind of go over this, but everything's going to be in the Aqua Hot 250D instruction manual, which you're going to have to go through and really kind of learn this system, just so you know what's going on. But basically the premise is you turn it on, set your thermostat, it's going to work, and then once it gets heated up and you have water in your tank, and you're going to just have hot water. And that's how that works. Now there's an electric on here also. And what the electric is once you heat it up with the diesel fuel, you can kind of keep it floating along with the electricity. But just mind you that if you have this on, you'll want to primarily use the diesel, just because that makes the best heat, instead of taking all that energy from the lithiums. I usually leave this off. You can also go through and you can tell how much things are using by going to your Victron, and you can come back over here, and then we can come down to our BMV 712, which is our amp meter. That's the shunt. And we can see that we have a positive 3.71 amps still charging the battery, even though that we know that we cycled the aqua hot and we know that that's down there taking some amperage. We just have so much solar right now that it's not taking a drain. If we did see a drain, you can see that it'll go down to a negative, and the time remaining would not be infinite. What would happen is this infinite means that that's instantaneous. That's how long it'll last. So if we were at night, we flipped a light on, you'll see it'll say 10 days or 10 plus days. That's how long at that given moment, with all the loads on, that you could use your batteries. And this is all set up to 600 amp hours.
So this is how you put the ladder away. Pick this up. Set this right here. Take this. Hit your button. Wait for that to go in. And then just like taking it out, you're gonna have the hinges facing down, and this first gap right here, you're gonna want to straddle that with this piping. I'm gonna take this like so, stick that in there, that cams in like that, and this into here, and you're ready to go.